Poto Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A good choice. I rise to take thank you. I rise to take a call on the Social Security Amendment Bill number 3, an innocuous name for a bill that does, as my colleague suggests, tidies up a few bits and pieces that are probably related to drafting errors when the original legislation was drawn up. I want to make a couple of comments in this call, Mr. Chairman, and my first comment, I guess, relates to how long it's taken for this piece of work to come before the House to this stage. I understand it's about 4 years. Now, if this bill, Mr. Chairman, was a child, a 4-year-old child, under the reforms of the welfare system, this child would have been in daycare probably for the last 3 years. So it is interesting that it's taken this long to get this piece of work before the House. And I wonder why now? Why this piece of legislation is up before the committee now, Mr. Chairman. And I would suggest that that's because the government is kind of running out of ideas on what to do next. I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that this government actually lacks any vision or inspiration or aspiration for our people, so they are casting through their work programs for bits of work to do. So this 4-year-old child has come to the House to actually finally have those drafting errors completed. So, Mr. Chair, just looking at, I just want to make comment about some of the specific cases or scenarios that this bill will affect. And one of the issues that were raised by submitters and people working on this was about ensuring that our students get the kind of support that was designed for them and their circumstances. And what I mean by that, Mr. Chairman, is around the student allowance. And as my colleague has already pointed out, that the scenario that has been suggested is that students will forego their student allowance and opt for the accommodation supplement because it may give them a little extra. We all know about students. I'm sure that those of you with young people in your homes know that students are very canny at finding ways to maximise their advantage. But I would suggest that that's a little cynical, that this bill is a little cynical in this regard. It also speaks to student allowances and how we do support our young people at university and technical institutes and the like, and whether we're actually doing enough in that regard to support them. And I would suggest you're right, Ms. Sepuloni, I don't believe that we are. So another option, perhaps, rather than trying to align these two pieces of legislation, may be to actually look at how we support our students better. I want to also, in this particular call, and I hope to take more later this evening, talk about the ACC programs, which are also leading us to look at equal treatment and aligning some equity between those people who receive ACC payments through the normal ACC program and those whose ACC payments come through an employer-accredited program. And we are the employer-accredited programs was a piece of work that happened, I think, was the mid-1990s from memory, when private ACC programs could be developed by employers, and it's taken an awful long time for the realisation that those programs may in fact, in times of when the employees are accessing their ACC payments, they may actually receive more under the employer the ACC accredited programs delivered by their employer. And there are some major employers still employing those programs, Mr Chairman. There are employers who employ up to... Sorry, Mr Chairman. Mr Chair,
Williams.
thank you. Thank you. Yes, I did call, but yeah, I was quietly. I'll try and be louder next time. There are some large employers who still continue with those ACC accredited programs, and it could work out to be quite significant for them that we have finally realised that there is a level of inequity in those payments to employees. So, Mr Chairman, I just also want to comment, if you'll just bear with me, I will just have a look at my notes with regards to, specifically to clauses 5 and 6, and just taking some reference from the regulatory impact statement. I refer back to that inequitable treatment that ACC accredited programs were really designed to encourage employers to take responsibility for their employees. But if we look at the broader issue around ACC, there have obviously been some comments in this House in recent weeks around ACC levies currently being charged to employers, and the impact of the overcharging or the overtaxing really of employers for ACC, and the use of those funds really to bolster what has actually become quite apparent as a bit of a sham really in the government's surplus. It's actually all been around the overcharging of employers for the ACC levies. And I think it's about time that the government recognised and actually spoke to employers about how they are going to continue to, why they are continuing to do this, and why they, and now employers are actually starting to realise that the government shouldn't be doing this and should be reducing levies to employees. Back to the regulatory impact statement. If there is, this legislation will actually look retrospectively to make some changes, and if we don't, Mr Chair, change this legislation retrospectively, there will be some windfall gains of additional benefit payments to those people whose employers have agreed to manage their own ACC compensation. But it's taken 4 years, as I've said, Mr Chairman, to get to this point. 4 years is a significant cost to those employers. Will we look at how we may compensate those employers for that? I don't think that is something that we are looking at, but it's certainly a case to be held up for them. Mr Chair, just in summing up in this particular call, there are kind of two major scenarios that are playing out in this amendment bill, and it would be good to hear from the Minister, firstly, why it has taken so long to get this bill to the House to ensure that these drafting errors are taken care of, Mr Speaker and Mr Chairman. While the Minister is in the chair, I'd welcome hearing the answers to the questions that my colleague Ms Ardern put to her too. Thank you, Mr Chairman.